Leon, selection-wise, what are you expecting the manager to do? It feels like there's a big push for Conor Bradley at right back.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I don't see Kwanzaa playing there. Well, I wouldn't want to see Kwanzaa there, no offence to him, but I'd rather have a right back playing right back if we've got one who's off it. I think he said in the press conference that he's good to go, which is cool. The thing, other than obviously Mohamed Salah's impending hat-trick, the thing I'm most excited about is having Alisson back. I know that sounds a bit naff with a goalkeeper, no offence, but the reason why is I think Queeve's a great goalkeeper, don't get me wrong, I think he's a really high level, but I just think our back four play better when they've got Alisson behind, and why not? I mean, I'll play better if I had Alisson behind me, to be fair, but I just think they look a little bit less nervous. I think they play a little bit higher because they know if you get in behind, you've got to beat that fella and you've got no chance. So for me, I'm really looking forward to having Alisson back. Obviously interested in seeing Bradley again, and again, I just don't know what he's going to do at number 9, man.
Before we get to that, John, I think that's a really good point about Alisson. I think, you can talk down goalies sometimes, but we know we've got the best one. And last week, let's have it right. Kelleher wasn't at fault for all of those goals, but it does not help having the main fella behind that defence, just marshalling everyone. And if there are those moments where concentration needs to be at 100%, there's no better fella than him.
For me, it's just having your big players available at the big time of the season, which now it is. It feels a big game. Having lost the last one, they win it. I feel like I've said a million times, if they win the next one, it's done. And then they've done that about 6 of those times, and I'm still going, but that's just us as football fans, isn't it? But Sunday does feel big, and you want your big players there. He's been there and done it. He's won a lot with Liverpool. He's part of that gang, isn't he? There's him, there's Virgil, there's Mo, there's Robbo, who are all going to play on Sunday, who've all won a lot. And that's not to say that others, haven't had experience of winning. You've got a World Cup winner and stuff like that. But having won the league at Liverpool, I think that is a big thing. And so having the 4 of them, obviously we're not going to have Trent there, but having the 4 of them on the pitch for us, I think is really big. Just to make sure everyone's right, just to make sure everyone's sharp. Alisson might not have a save to make on Sunday. Let's all hope he doesn't. He might not have much to do, but I think what he can do is just his aura, just his presence, just his calmness. People obviously look up to him, in the dressing room, and just, if you were walking out and you did have a little bit of nerves and you turned around and saw him, you'd be like, oh yeah, that'll be fine. And that's the kind of, you talk about aura here, and that's sort of what he's got really. So your big players at every part of the pitch who've been there and done it is absolutely fantastic. So like Leon says, I'm made up he's back, even though it is just sort of West Ham at home.
Middle of the park bet. Do you think the manager might be thinking about doing anything slightly different to the obvious 3, or do you think with 7 to go, it is just now, lads, it's 7 to go, I'm sticking to the boys that have got me to this point, and it will be McAllister, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai?
Yeah, I think that is what he'll do. I think he's that sort of manager, particularly this time of the season. I think he's got his preferred midfield 3, and it is those 3 that started last week. So I expect that he will probably stick with them. I think there's an argument for taking Szoboszlai out. I think Harvey Elliott really can't be doing any more than he's been doing these past few weeks to make a case for starting. And I think he's the sort of player who seizes the opportunity, and you'd like to think Liverpool are going to be having a lot of the ball, and just that creativity that Harvey Elliott brings. While Szoboszlai is not quite in the best of form, I'd be tempted to bring him in there and sort of have him almost as a 10. But I think based on what we've seen from Slot this season, I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks with the same 3.
How are you viewing Szoboszlai at the minute, Leon? I think there's a lot of chat, and I think sometimes, certainly as fans, you can think one thing, and then all of a sudden you suddenly see what Szoboszlai can give you off the ball, and he can be so incredibly important. And when we've been without him at times, you've really seen what you do miss. But then I think it is fair to have conversations about output and stuff, and maybe in those killer moments he's not quite as slick on the ball as maybe one or 2 others in terms of finding that pass. Thought he was very loose with it at Fulham, if I'm being really, really honest. I love him as a player, but is it fair to maybe want a little tiny bit more at certain moments in that final third? I
have a load of sympathy for him, if I'm honest, because I think he's caught between 2 stools. He's kind of doing all the Jordan Henderson running all the game, but then we're also expecting him to do the flair and the shots and all the other stuff. So I'm stuck. I really like him. I agree that he's got some levels to go up, but it's the first year he's worked with Slot. It's the first year he's been at Liverpool. I think, if we could get a good season out of him and he gets a couple more goals before the end of the season and really see him train on. I'd say I do have a lot of sympathy for him because he puts the yards in like unbelievable. You see him popping up at left back, at right back, he's doing loads of stuff, and then we're a bit surprised that he was just a little bit short on one of the passes up top because he's just been covering for 2 or 3 lads. So I'm a big fan of his. I love the free kick he scores every time there's an international break. It's unbelievable how he keeps producing that same free kick. But no, I think he's going to improve, and I think we're really lucky in that. If you have a look at Gravenberch and Szoboszlai, they're both kids, man. They're really young, and they've done an unbelievable job this year. And if we can add some more little numbers around them for next year, I'm really looking forward to how much better they can be.